reframing moments from this process as positive. Woo! That's nice. It's like being afraid of a future that doesn't exist yet. There's your sprinkles. Pretty much in a constant state of anxiety. That affects my motivation, fulfillment level. All right, Happy Little Boards Show, episode 6. Back in action. I feel rusty. It's been like 5 weeks. 4 weeks? 4 weeks. Time's moving slow lately, or fast. I don't know. One of those where I think being busy with keeping a lot of things in my head makes time move differently. In any case, very nice to be back, sitting here. I've been doing some work on the business side of things behind the scenes, so I shared a few posts here and there. Soon to have some pedal boards up for sale. They're in production, partnering up with my longtime friend, practically family member at this point, Nate, who owns an awesome painting company, but they also do like, high quality finishing for like cabinets and stuff like that. So he's actually gonna help me out with finishing the finishing coat of sealant and stuff on the boards and staining, whatever, which is super exciting. So happy to have his input and expertise on board with this. Aside from that, not too much crazy going on. It's just, I think for me, part of this process is also an exercise in learning how to be patient and work towards a goal without being easily defeated by things not progressing as fast as I would want. I think I have this struggle where when I can envision something happening and I can see how it all will come together, it's hard to see the end point and not just like work 24/7 without, eating and sleeping and, interacting with everyone and just make it happen immediately. Because that's unrealistic. But that's it. The having patience in doing each small step is definitely a struggle. So this is actually a very healthy a healthy exercise for myself as a person to work on this project, because it's forcing me to rewire specific grooves in my brain that have led me to feel frustrated and defeated and give up on things or not pursue things due to lack of the ability to make them happen immediately. So as much as there are moments of just like feeling like I'm not moving forward or doing what I should be doing, I've made amazing amounts of progress. And so it's also reframing this endeavor into reframing moments from this process as positive rather than looking at what has happened rather than looking at what hasn't happened yet. Because that's another part of, I think, it's when you look back at the footage and you take the human perception out of it, it's all the same things happening. What's different is how I'm perceiving what's happening, how the story about it I'm telling myself, and how that affects my motivation, fulfillment level, self, the happiness with myself, just overall feeling of positivity about the work that has been done. All of that is really just a matter of my own perception. So that's been like the big lesson over the past few weeks that I just wanted to share right off the bat, because I don't have a lot to like report in terms of like the physical world. I think a lot of it is been reflecting and reframing and stopping and thinking about, okay, let's take this moment that normally goes this direction and let's try changing it into this direction. And I also want to say that a lot of this that I am doing is thanks to all of the wonderful people through books and podcasts and YouTube videos and interviews and creative people out there who have dealt with things like this, sharing their wisdom and their experience. Because I think the greatest thing that has helped me over the past probably just 3 to 4 years, with a lot of change that has come about inside my own head, has been based on simply listening to other people share their stories. Like the power of hearing other people's stories, even if it's someone that is completely different from me, or even is saying something that's the opposite of how I feel and I don't agree with it. Just hearing people share their stories, it allows me anyway, and I would imagine that this would be the same for most people. It allows me to hear that and see where those little connections are in my own reality. And I think the main thing is it has allowed me to put a name or a metaphor, or just to understand that something is this and not that, in terms of like even like ADHD, anxiety, depression things. Like, rather than just thinking that there's something wrong with me, it's allowed me to really put a name to it. So it's not who I am, it's something that is a part of me, or something that's in my life, and that has been invaluable. So to the endless number of people out there that have shared their wisdom, experiences, stories, and expertise, like, thank you so much. I don't even know if I could possibly figure out how to list everyone. And also thank you to my stupid commute that I have, and my sometimes really boring job that I do, that allows me to put in headphones and listen to all this stuff. Because as much as that part can be crappy, it also allows me to listen and intake all of this stuff. So that's been a huge, arguably the biggest impact in me, has been, taking in what other people have been kind enough to open up and share publicly, most of which is free out there to listen to, or maybe costs you like the cost of a subscription to Audible, or whatever streaming platform that allows you to listen to podcasts. All right, there's the intro. That's my verbal vomit to clear my head and get into this. Also, like, I just think that I've had a hesitation to just like sit and treat this like, I guess it's a vlog in a sense, video diary, journal, captain's log, and just be like honest and taught, like self-editing constantly, even though I'm not necessarily editing that much. I think I still have this hesitation to like keep it short, cut this out, cut that out, don't ramble. But like, isn't that the point of this? Really, it's like I'm doing what I just talked about. Is I'm sharing what goes on inside my head and my own experiences and wisdom, and it's really like you can't put a filter on that or else it takes away from it, and that's kind of what I've benefited from. So even still, with me like knowing that and talking about what I just did about everyone else sharing stuff, when it comes time for me to share, I still feel this like, sense of needing to self-edit and not be 100% raw with it, I guess, which that's another thing. I'm like, right now, I'm saying that because I'm literally thinking about it right now as I'm rambling on and nothing is happening here yet with the looping. You can also fast forward this too if you find this crap boring and you just want me to hit the pedals. So it's like that, like, screw it, I'm just gonna talk, and that I think that's something that's gonna make the world a better place if more of us just share and talk what's really happening with us. And also because truthfully, everything that I'm talking about is what makes like this stuff that I'm doing with music and sound and creative stuff, like, without the differences in my brain, without the journey I've been on, without all this stuff that I've just talked about, that none of this would be, because it's all very much related. And I think that's kind of the whole point too, if you've been paying attention, is like the struggles and difficulties and the things that I have felt I needed to maybe change or shift or reframe. A lot of that ability to do that and the things that help me get through that difficult process is being creative, like flexing those creative muscles. And again, like I'm hoping other people can find that connection with sound. And again, say it till I'm blue in the face, probably say it every episode. You can play with sound and be creative and have fun and meditate in that way by playing with sound without it being music. And I think that that's the hill I'm gonna die on, is that like there is such a difference between playing with sounds and being creative and making music. Yes, they can cross over, but they're not mutually exclusive, or they are mutually exclusive, whichever way that goes. You can just... I'm recording this for a specific reason. However, if I didn't have that, if there was no reason to record this and share this stuff, I would still be sitting here by myself, or whatever. If my family's around, no one's paying attention. Point is, there's zero stakes. I'm not doing it for anything. I would still be sitting here with pedals or an instrument that's fun and creative to play with, and be playing with it because of the health benefits it has for me in terms of accessing a primal child state of my right side of my brain. I was going over here, but it's over here. On the right side of our brains, we have that creative... There's the practical, anxiety side of the brain is the left brain. And then there's the right side, which is the creative, more... That's where I think of, like, there's zero stakes. It's there for imagination, for creativity. That side of the brain, flexing those muscles, exercising that's what medicates the struggles that are living on this side of my brain in the anxiety world. And ADHD symptoms that I clearly have and have not. I do not have an official diagnosis, but it is definitely one of those where the guy that I go to for talk therapy, he's diagnosed with ADHD, and I've talked about it with him, and he's like, I can't officially diagnose you, but you're not crazy in thinking that when you hear other stories about certain ADHD symptoms that it feels like it's relative to you, because I would agree, as someone who had a diagnosis and understands a lot of what you're talking about, that is most likely the case, that you have an ADHD brain. I also know it runs in my family, which I'm hoping to, when I have enough time, seek out an official diagnosis and maybe even try certain medications to see what benefit that can bring me. That's a future thing. Don't need to go on another tangent about that, but it all ties in, and it's all related to this. So, with our second half of the intro out of the way, let's get into making some loopy loops with our happy little board here. I brought out the old keyboard again, because why not? So on the technical side of things, what are we working with today? I don't know if you'll be able to see it in the overhead cam, but I actually have this extra thing that's over here. It's the headphone signal from this keyboard is going into this and then going into the pedal board, and that is only because when I go transfer this to my computer, I was getting this like electricity, like super high pitched, like electric, like white noise kind of thing. And I just think it's actually the wiring in this room down here, or the fact that there's like some of the house's higher voltage stuff running above my head, or it could be from the light. In any case, I would have to like edit that out, and you can't really hear it when you're just sitting playing, but when I would put it on the computer and you could hear it was just this like high pitched whistle. So I'm trying that out to eliminate that. So that is not some fancy thing you need to know about, but that's why that's there. Now the pedal board, we've got the Earthquaker Devices Silos, which is the one we used before, where you can do that thing where it self-oscillates and it keeps repeating and gets this cool like feedback sound, which we're going to mess with today. We got that first in line. Then we're going to a pedal that will look familiar, but it's actually a different one in the series. And this one, they only made a limited number of. It's a cool story. If you go to check out Emily Hopkins, she's a harp player. She actually did the soundtrack for Animal Crossing, the video game. But she also she's been doing pedal demos, and she did a video with Old Blood Noise, and they kind of made this like secret pedal during that video, and then it ended up turning into a thing where they made a batch of them, and it's an octave generator, so it adds a higher pitch octave of what's going into it. It's super cool. I had to grab one. I don't think that you can find them maybe used, but I think they're done selling those now. So that one is a limited edition one that I'm throwing in there today, because I like to try to throw ones in that are available and affordable for everyone. But that's a limited one, but it's cool and it's new, so I'm putting it in there. And we got the Walrus Audio Fundamental Reverb, another one we've seen on the board. Just great standard reverbs on there. And then the JHS 3 series, we have the Chorus. I'm not sure if this has been on the board yet. We might have done the Phaser, but if you don't know, Chorus just takes it, like doubles the signal and it changes the pitch slightly. It gives it that like 80s like watery sounding effect, a little wiggle to the sound. So everything that goes through is going to hit that, and we can give it some extra texture, which is what I'm using it for. And as always, shout out to a volume knob on there so we can control the level of our layers of our loop. That's the pedal board. I already picked a sound on here, which is one of my favorites on this keyboard. It is called Warm, I believe. Let me just make sure I'm saying the right thing. 67. Yeah, that's the one. It's called Warm. Some sort of synthesizer sound on here. Let's make sure this is turned up enough. Actually, turn that up a little bit more. We'll do white keys for this episode. Keep it simple. So I think, just because it's so much fun and it's great for a first layer, let's do that thing where we get it to self-oscillate and get this kind of like background palette canvas, background color going on this thing. So I'm going to turn the repeats up. And I'm going to make a nerdy pedal analogy here and say how this delay is a way you can kind of think about. Ooh, that's nice. Let's turn down the mix a little bit though. Just add a little sparkle. I'm thinking about this in terms of anxiety because when you have thoughts that go through your head and you maybe think, anxiety is mainly related to the future, and it's like being afraid of a future that doesn't exist yet is a very simplified way of thinking about it. But it's not. There's healthy fear, like the fear that keeps you safe when there's a predator nearby and you're in the woods, the ancestral primal fear. Ooh, yeah, all right. Sorry, remind me while I'm cooking here. All right, so I'm just gonna actually hit the loop. So with like a delay, you put the sound through, and there's a certain amount of times it repeats, and you can control that with a knob. All right, let's start this loop. But I kind of think of it in terms of anxiety, where like what's happening with this one is the repeats turned up too much, and now they're kind of stuck, and it's repeating back into itself. And it's just, it's looping. And it's going on and on. And if I even turn the repeats up even more, it would result in it looping back into itself so much that it amplifies and it turns into this distorted, awful noise that ends up coming out. Now, in terms of making sounds, gross noise can be cool, but if you're thinking of it in terms of like the thoughts in your head, that's how anxiety can work. And even I think you can relate that into the world of obsessive compulsive disorder, where the thought gets stuck and it becomes this feedback loop. In some people, the wiring in their brain, they don't have the knob that they have is set in a way where they don't have control over how many times it repeats. And there's certain things where if it comes in loud enough, or it's a specific type of thought, it enters that loop and it can get different levels of feedback. Some people to the point where it becomes this massive distortion that they can't get rid of. And it's literally just the way the electricity and neurons have connected in your brain in a certain way. It has nothing to do with who you actually are as a person. That is a physical wiring inside your head. And it can be changed, and it can be caused through genetics, through environment, through trauma. But it is like if you have a chronic muscle pain or injury, you would never consider that something that's wrong with like you as a person and who you are, right? All right, there we go. We can turn these off. There we go. See? That was the feedback loop getting too loud and distorted. Now we've got this nice quiet little layer. But yeah, if you had a chronic injury, you would never say that that's something that's wrong with you as a person, like you're who you are, and you're like your soul. And I think it's helpful to think of a lot of these ethereal, the world of mental health and mental disorders and things. It's not something you can't physically see a broken bone or a torn ligament or something like that. But it is arguably the same kind of a thing where it's not something wrong with you. It's something, an injury or something you need to change. Like maybe the way you're bending over, or the way you're sitting at work all day long, it causes a certain injury, or the way you a movement you do physically as an athlete or something like that, where you need to retrain how you hold your feet, or you need to re-strengthen certain parts of your body to support the other thing, and a lot of blah blah blah. Like they're surprisingly similar, I think. The more I learn about this, I think it's important to point that out, that those two things can be very similar. It's just one you can see, and it's more commonplace, and like we physical health and mental health are like two separate things, rather than it's just being health, you know what I mean? So I don't know, I've just been thinking a lot about this stuff, and as I said at the beginning, and also in terms of the mental world, I think there's a lot of times when like the language and labels we have for things. Let's just do some regular piano, by the way. Go to piano. Oh my gosh, that's loud. The labels and language we have, I think we need to change that quite a bit, because I don't think it does justice to I don't think it accurately. Oh, that's very nice. I just want to adjust the volume. And you know what? We're gonna put I'm gonna do digital. I'm gonna put some delay on this too. It doesn't do justice to like, they're more intricate than that. And again, you can relate it to like physical anatomy. Like, it's not just something wrong with your knee. It's like a ligament or a couple of tendons, and it's also related to how tight your quad is or something like that, or the way your bone is shaped, or the joint of your hip. Like, we could talk about it in that sense, but like the connections of ADHD and anxiety, or all these other things, and like I'm just referencing that specifically because that's the two main things I think affect me the most. I'll tell you what, that sounds freaking fantastic. I this middle section here. So I'm gonna keep yapping here and sprinkle in some old piano notes. And I went for a walk and was just thinking about the stuff I was talking about in the beginning of this episode. And I really think that the fact that I had anxiety undiagnosed, like I've only learned about this in the past 5 or 6 years, all this stuff about mental health and anxiety, and I really didn't know anything about it. Just what everyone has is common knowledge through TV and media and stuff like that, which is not usually accurate at all. And so the more I learn about it, I'm like, oh wow, I think I was pretty much in a constant state of anxiety for most of my formative years, from my preteens through my 20s, all of it. And having really solidified that my brain functions in that anxious state, that was baseline, and now coming out of that, that's almost feels weird, because even though it wasn't great or what I should have been experiencing ideally is if I was a healthy, non-anxious brain, it is my comfortable baseline. So it can make changing to a healthier state of mind feel actually wrong and weird. But I've also been learning more about the ADHD stuff, and I think when it comes to ADHD, being able to go off in so many different directions in my head and hold so many different things at attention in my brain, it has, and that coupled with the creativity the creative muscles that I've exercised. Oh, we're back. The creative muscles that I've exercised over the years, as what I'm looking at now is probably something that was soothing and a medication for the anxiousness I was feeling. I would have enjoyed music in general, I think, no matter what. But what drove me to want it, and I don't even like learning other people's songs. It was always creating my own stuff. What drove me in that direction, I think, was actually something that was medicating what was negatively happening in my brain, and I would find relief in it, and that's what drew me to that, and that led me to exercising my creative muscles. But so then you couple that with the ADHD wiring that I have, which I think that one leans a lot more, it seems, is in a genetic, just the genetic makeup of your brain. The neurodivergent. We're gaining more and more language, because again, I just don't think I have the right words to describe what specifically where I land in that spectrum of things. But I think then when it came time, when that couples with anxiety and a strongly exercised creative muscle, it actually allows me to imagine realistic futures for myself and possibilities in a very, very real and complex way. Like, I can really go out there and see so many different possibilities for things and envision them in a very realistic way, even where in terms of like I'll react emotionally sometimes to, like, I'll have an emotional reaction as if it's a real future that I'm imagining and envisioning in my head. But then when that couples with what anxiety does, it can be it's a good thing that I would never want to get rid of that ability to have that amazing imagination for the future. That's what allows me to solve problems. I have great critical thinking skills and problem solving skills and creative in the moment. Like, we ran into something at work with like making a patio, and I need to create, or a tool broke and we need a creative solution to fix this problem. Like, I'm the guy for that, and I think that comes from these things. However, in terms of like, say, envisioning starting a business, just a little side hustle business out of making pedal boards in order to support me and my family, and to enable me to be more financially free to do more of this stuff rather than be so reliant on a job that I'm at the point where I don't want to physically be doing that kind of manual labor anymore. So that's what I'm grappling with, and the anxiety monster there, the voice of anxiety, colors all of those futures with the memories of how things went wrong, because it's trying to predict bad things happening and prove to me that the future is unsafe because this is I'm taking a risk or I'm doing things differently. It's proving, the anxiety's there to say, hey, I'm the historian. I know the facts here. This is how it's gone every single time. And anxiety only remembers the things that were bad and that hurt you, or were negative, or caused problems, or the failures, like anything in that category. Anxiety's going to remember that. And it's going to inject that prediction into all of my imagined futures. So that, I think that's the great link of all these things, and how it can, like I said, if you were to look through the eyes of maybe somebody that didn't have a brain like this, or if there was a way to remove all, a computer, like an AI type of vision of the thing, a pragmatic, uncolored by personal experience view of everything, it would just be there's nothing wrong with what you're doing, keep going, and if it doesn't work, that's fine. This, you know what I mean? There's nothing, no one would, if you could take a bird's eye view outside of me and look at that, it would look very different. And that's the realization, just the simple realization that is the case, and the anxiety is creating this filter, and the anxiety is shouting these predictions for the future, is what's gonna lead to me making decisions in a certain way if I'm unaware of it. So the realization that that's what is happening has changed my entire life. Just not even changing that, but just knowing that that's what's happening. And again, this information is everyone on podcasts and books especially, and just interviews, look for creative people, in any form that is in your area, anything where you think you can relate, if you're struggling with something, because it's not going to be the same as me, excuse me, but the information is out there, and just understanding what things are and what's happening, and that it's not you, it's not real, like that can change, that can be like, 50% of the battle, and it can allow you the grace to do things differently and give yourself a break from that. And I don't know, it's just like that's what I'm deep in that right now. I'm not by any means changed and cured. I'll never be cured. And I think if you were to remove the negative stuff, you'd also be removing the positive stuff. That's what I mean. I think that the way my brain is wired, there's great power and positive tools and benefits that I have from that, but that also opened the door for a lot of this negative stuff to be possible. So it's a matter of which muscles are you flexing, and you can literally retrain and you can rewire, like the electric connections in your brain can get changed and rebuilt, and you can strengthen bonds and weaken other bonds, and get and have a different life just from understanding what's happening in there. Again, same as like I have this pain and I figured out that it's actually not my knee, it's my tight quad, which is something that happened with me. And you learn that and you start stretching and working out differently, and all of a sudden your knee pain goes away and everything starts functioning better. So I don't know, I just really wanted to share that. Sorry, things going on at the house, making sure everything's all right, and checking in on my text real quick. But anyway, speaking of checking in, let's get back to this loop. Sorry for all the side quests here, but like I said, I'm here to share that stuff as much as I am to make these loops, and I'm just kind of trying to, again, treat this as if I'm talking to me, but hoping that there's other people out there that understand what I'm saying, and hopefully it can help you if it helped me. Let's see what trumpet sounds like. Alright, now let's go low with that. Let's do a bright reverb. Let's try out some of this action. Let's do some delay. Okay, so I think I'm going to do one where I'm doing multiple notes here. I can just hold it. I think I'm gonna do that, and then let's make it wiggly. Let's see, it's like a switch to more of like what's called a vibe, a univibe. Yeah, give it a little wiggle. Almost like like the baritones in a chorus. But yeah, so this exploration into my understanding my brain, like just gaining that understanding has kind of gone so far to help me. It's like, and again, this project that I'm doing, this Happy Little Boards thing, it had lived in my head for years, and it really wasn't until I started getting to a place of better mental health and understanding that I felt able to do this. And I had to be patient and wait until I felt that and not feel like it was a bad thing that I hadn't yet, you know. But I think moral of the story is, if there is... Oh, there it is. Oh, I just realized I never turned the reverb on. Moral of the story is, turn the reverb on. If there's anything like that, you know, a dream, a goal, a thing to do, something on your to-do list that just lives rent-free in your brain there, don't ignore it. It might just be, if it's something that you think, you let the thought drift in your head and then it goes away, that might just mean that it's something that's worth exploring and seeing what it is that's maybe in the way of that, and then seeing if you can figure out why that thing is in the way of that. I don't think I had the delay on either. Sounds nice. That's what matters. So let's turn those on for this next one. Well, actually, let's pick a sound first here. You know, and again, like in the grand philosophical thing, like scheme of things, being a person that, if more people can find what their strength and joy is, what their, I like to think of it as like what type of love they have to give to the world. And it could, I mean, it could be in the world of math and finances. It could be in the world of, I don't know, waste management. It doesn't have to be art. I mean, it's all art in my mind. Like, your art, what makes you unique, your specific... There's something that you can do in a way in the world that people would see, and it would make them feel good, and it would make you feel good to make them feel good. That's what I mean. There's that loving feedback that's out there. And I feel like every single one of us has our specific thing. And what your thing is might appear like, to me, as something I would never ever want to do. And that's the point. Why we shouldn't all, there's not one right answer, because then everybody would be striving for the same thing, and it would be really, everyone would be the same. That's what the whole point of everyone being different, is that we all have a different thing. And that because you have your thing, that means I can do my thing. I don't have to do your thing because you're doing your thing. And the more people embrace that, and even if we're just taking steps in the direction of those things, like how it affects you as a person, and how that then affects the world around you, your people around you, the community you connect with, whether it's digitally or in real life. I do think that it's way more powerful in real life. However, I'm doing this by speaking these words into a camera in my basement and putting it on the internet. So, but like that's what leads to making the world a better place. You know, I know it's a very simplified way of saying it, but I believe that to be 100% true. And with that, let's cue up some strings. How about, let's tremolo strings. Alright, delay this time. A little of this maybe. I also have no real clue what these knobs do on this pedal, and I think that makes it more awesome. Alright, let's just put a little tiny wiggle on this guy. Oh yeah. Let's try spring. Nah, plate. Let's do plate. Anyway, I think another thing I thought of too is that the reason for me even doing this, because again, like, I could just do this and never share it, and it would benefit my brain in the way I explain just the same. So why share it? Because I like to, like, I don't know, I like to know why I'm doing stuff, because it helps me improve doing it by understanding why I'm doing it, so I don't do things that are going against that. But I also want to make sure I'm doing something for the right reasons or for good reasons, so I'm not making connections that are negative in my head. I truthfully think that it's almost like it's like a classified ad or an online dating profile, but for like just to see, like, I don't know, do you understand, like, do I sound like a lunatic to you, or do you understand what I'm talking about? Who's out there that gets what I'm saying and what I'm doing here? Because, like, I'm not gonna change what it is that I'm doing to be something that's not genuine. Like this, if there was someone in the room hanging out with me, I would sit there and we would mess with sound like this and freaking talk about deep stuff. I'm sick of small talk. Like, who wants to talk about existence and making the world a better place? You know, like, I think that's what kind of an underlying thing here is, like, it's like my way of saying, like, hey, who's out there who wants to be friends? You know, like, I don't think there's really a lot of people around, like, in my life that I feel like understand this or would get it. So, like, yeah, hit me up in the comments, man. Let me have it. don't hesitate. I'm happy to hear it if someone's like, dude, when you said this, holy crap, I understand exactly what you mean. Or, are you alright? You know, I don't care, just like, let me hear it. That's, I'm here to understand the rest of you that are bothering to even watch this better. This is a good loop. I honestly wasn't sure 100% like if this would be a weird setup with the pedals, because it's kind of like not in your typical order that you would put things, and this new octave one is just such a weirdo of a pedal. But yeah, like especially that with the strings, that was a good one. That was an awesome noise. Like I'm listening to it back. I don't know how loud this is in the microphones here, but now I'm debating whether this needs another layer or not. I think it needs some sparkle. We need to find something high up to do, which that means let's crank the mix on the octave. Let's get some weird fast delay. Let's do an analog delay. Faster one. The high mix. Put the octave up all the way. Well, let's pick a sound first here. What about the choir, since we were talking about the low part of the choir? I don't even know what that. Yeah, let's go with that. Let's see how it sounds with this guy. All right, so yeah. Sprinkles. Let's do spring, dark tone. No, let's do bright tone, but we won't put it up super high with the mix. And then frick it, let's do some more wiggles. Keep the volume there. Yep, that's it. Alright, sprinkle in some sprinkles on this luscious ambient Sunday. Whew. That's nice. I will say, I mean, there's a few octave. You can find octave pedals that add the up octave, the higher octave. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't want to start naming stuff that without it being accurate. But putting a delay or a reverb into an octave up thing like that really can't go wrong. Really adds that like angelic, euphoric shimmer to everything. I mean, there are actual delays and reverbs you can get that have like a shimmer effect, which that's essentially what it's doing. Tinkerbell's flying around in there. Gotta be coming back around. Yeah. You know, it doesn't have to go through the whole thing. Enjoying watching me listen? Done loop. Alright, well, this was a very off-the-cuff episode. I did a voice note when I went for that walk, and I thought of a few things I wanted to talk about, and I did a voice note just in case I didn't get to record this episode close enough to that walk where I remembered exactly what I was thinking about. So it was actually helpful to like re-listen to what I said right after my walk. But other than that, this is probably the most unrehearsed I've sat down to do this. Even though I never really like have a plan, I kind of like mentally rehearse. Again, imagining futures. It's a little close to Imagine Dragons, but Imagining Futures is probably a cool band name if you want to steal that. But yeah, you know, like I said, it feels good to just sit and like, this is what I want to do. I want to make this and talk at the same time. Talk about my anxiety, my struggles, and what I'm experiencing and going through, changing them, because it all relates to me doing this thing. So I appreciate everybody if you're sticking around and listening to this. I appreciate it. If you have any questions about anything I said, or if you have any questions about the gear, the process, the pedals, the pedal boards, any of it, please let me know in the comments. Happy to respond. If you want to share something that you've experienced similar to me, that would be awesome too. You know, and as always, if you got to this moment, I'm going to ask if you just check and make sure you hit the subscribe button if you want to see more of this content. That would help me out amazingly. That's the thing I gotta ask you to do for the YouTube channel. I'm not gonna stop. So if you want to hear more of this, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications, throw me a like. All that supports me, and it's free, and you're awesome for doing it. Thank you to everybody that has subscribed so far. I feel like my voice is in need of some liquid at this point. So I will close there. I will see you next time. Hopefully in 2 weeks we'll be doing another one of these, and hopefully there'll be a video in between there, but we'll see. Stay in touch on social media too, see what else is going on. And with that, I'm going to sit, close my eyes, take a few deep breaths, enjoy this loop, and then go grocery shopping. So I'll see you next time. Thanks for being here. Peace, love, and rock and roll, and take a deep breath. It's worth it.